of the Treasury Board to stay. But since he's here, I have some extemporizing I can go on about when, which he doesn't need to concentrate on. But I do have a couple of questions, while I do have his attention, that I've always been curious about. The actual figures that appear in the Appropriation Act don't seem to have, I can't figure out where they come from. So is this a percentage of the budget? In past interim supply appropriation requests, we've been told, for example, that this is 40% of the budget, even though it's covering time from the beginning of April to the end of June, which is not 40% of the year, but you know, evidently there's some front-end loading on some of the summer programs, and that's why that much money was needed. And so I guess that's my question is the interim supply request essentially a percentage that is asked for? And secondly, how are the amounts determined that have to do with the capital expense in each of the departments that are listed? Again, is that a percentage of anticipated capital investment over the year, or is it something specific? I guess I'm sort of wondering how much time the government puts into interim supply. So those are a couple of questions that I'd like the President of the Treasury Board and Minister of Finance and Enterprise to answer. The second piece that I wanted, two other things I want to raise while I have his attention. I'm finding that the current budget process is not very no, it's not. It's a terrible process, and it's not giving good information. And the Minister and I have spoken about this before. Currently, the information that's available in the budget books is minimal. And budgets that used to be expanded out quite a bit, so you could actually tell what programs are being funded under a given category, are now so rolled up that you get a budget vote. And I spend a lot of time in departmental budget debates asking what programs are funded and for how much, which is not an incredibly good use of time, but I have no other way to get the information. Now, if I go back and I look at the previous year's annual report for a given ministry, I can sometimes sort of figure out what's being funded under a given vote line. If he's looking for an example, look under the Culture and Community Spirit budget under AFA. Alberta Foundation for the Arts, and he'll get a sense of what I mean. Or even if you look under a budget line, oh no, this got moved, but major exhibitions and fairs used to be a vote line under community development, and now it's under culture and, no, sorry, it got moved to agriculture, I think, or maybe municipal affairs. Anyway, you know, we get this very short description, and there's millions, sometimes billions of dollars. AHS appears, Alberta Health Services appears as one line in the health department budget, and it's billions of dollars. And we don't know what's in it, and there's no way to find out. So you can go back and look at the previous years, or it's actually at that point almost 2 years ago that the annual report applies to, and try and figure out if the programs that are talked about in there are turning up under a given line. And I just don't understand why we have to spend so much time. And it's not just members of the opposition. It's members of the government's caucus spend so much time trying to figure out what the heck is there. I just don't find it a good use of time. It's not talking about why the government made certain choices, or why they've identified these as priorities, or what they'd like to do differently, or what they think they're doing particularly well. It's almost strictly an accounting gesture. So I also, and the entire budget process, we have basically three responders to the budget speech. The budget speech itself is delivered. You have two members of the government caucus move and second it, and then you have a response from the leader of the official opposition. And I'm pretty sure that's it. And then we go into the actual estimates debates for each ministry. So our opportunity to talk about the overall direction and choices of the government is by doing it through the appropriation budgets, as I'm doing right now, for interim, or for the Appropriation Act for the actual budget itself, which comes at the end of all of the supply votes. But it does occur to me that I don't get a real opportunity to talk back and forth with the government about why they've made the choices they have. Because what I'm seeing is, I'm looking again for the plan, and what I'm getting is boom, bust, pray. Boom, bust, pray. And since I can't, I don't have any other way to get a sense of this. But, we get a boom, many things happen, then we get a bust, many things go wrong, and then we all pray. And the government leads us in prayer in trying to hope that we get another boom, and then we go into another boom cycle, because already people are talking about employment figures are up, housing starts are up. They're talking about another boom starting to happen in Fort McMurray, activities going up in the support services around Edmonton. People in Calgary are looking happier every day. So I'm thinking, here we go, one more time. All of the worldwide indexes and the Canadian indexes are saying, okay, well, our recession was officially over. I think it was the third quarter of 2009 or something. And truly, in Alberta, because we are so blessed here, I think it could be argued in many ways that we hardly had a recession. We sort of had a hiccup. So I thank the Speaker for allowing me leeway to broaden the discussion during this appropriation debate in Committee of the Whole, but I am looking for those plans. I would like to know whether there is a plan after the prayer that is being considered by this minister. Is there a plan that we're going to come out of this and devote a certain amount of resource revenue to endowment and savings plans that would in fact fund post-secondary education 15 years down the line? What is the plan around revenue from the government in the future? I talked about a white paper and developing a white paper and leading a couple of years' worth of discussion with the public about how we feel it's appropriate. Should we be dumping income tax completely and going to a consumption tax system? Should we be freeing up that educational property tax to the municipalities and leaving it to them? Okay, fine, but then how are we going to fund education? So those kinds of discussions never seem to happen, and I wish I could spend less time prying for details and more time looking at those larger discussions. I'm quite concerned that we take non-renewable resource revenue and apply it directly to today's budget. So it came out of the ground yesterday, and essentially we're spending it through the government coffers today. And this resource belongs to all of us, including future generations. Well, really, we've had the benefit of this for, can I say, 2 generations, to be on the positive side of that. I mean, my father comes from Black Diamond, a mile away from Turner Valley, the original site of the gas in Alberta. He's now in his 80s. That stuff was happening when he was a boy. he was on the derrick that left Leduc, and the next derrick the next crew in was the crew that was there when Leduc number 1 went. So in his lifetime, he's seen really the beginning of that natural resource revenue come in and subsidize the government. When he dies, which I hope is not soon, his grandchildren or his grandchildren's grandchildren, will they still be able to benefit that? And I can see the government going forward with a deliberate strategy to say, building assets is always a good place to spend your resource revenue because you have an asset. Building bridges and roads and opera houses and oh, I better not say sports arenas, but recreational facilities, curling rinks in rural Alberta, you know, those things are assets. They're tangible. They're worth something. And I think, you know, that is a reasonable place to spend that money. Never to spend it on operational money, because operational money, as the minister well knows, it's gone. No, you know, it's gone. It paid for a service and it's gone. And that service is not here now. It's been consumed. It's over. So, you know, and I'll just close by gently, no, not gently, by kind of whacking the government a bit about why you cannot get your timing better. This is my 15th budget. This is my 14th interim budget, interim supply request. So there's only 1 year in the 14 years I've been elected and have served where the government has been successful in bringing in a budget and passing it before the 1st of April. And the government is in complete control of when we are called in, when budgets are due, when all of this is produced. I mean, you can say it's you know, the opposition's fault if you wish, but really, you've got all the cards. You choose the game. You choose when it's played. So why are we so unable to do that? And I realize now that some of your revenue is intricately tied to the federal government and you're waiting for federal government amounts on certain programs, but nah, not enough. Sorry, not enough to be an excuse to be used for why 14 years out of 15 we're looking at interim supply in a province that, you know, you've been in control for 40 years. You really, your track record is bad when you look at it that way. And you should be able to do better, and I don't understand why you choose not to, because you have all the cards to be able to choose to do it. So I've given you a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and I'll sit down and let the minister respond to me. Thank you very much for the opportunity.